Can't see if the mic is working in the other room. Okay, mic is working. Hello, everyone. Geez, you know, just when you think you got everything set up, something goes haywire. So basically what's going on is I also filmed not streaming. So I guess the mic got discombobulated. How are you guys today? Thank you for joining me. And I'm not seeing the chat. But I will look at the chat through my phone. Hello, everyone. Since there's a lot of new people that don't know who I am, I was thinking I should kind of maybe do the highlights of each of my products. It's really up to you. I had a painting out for the fabric paints, and I produced a whole video on these new paints that are fabric paints for fabric painting. And so that was all on my table this morning, and it went really well. So I didn't want to just jump in with that this morning. I'm going to have an entire video on that, and then I'm going to do I want you guys to tell me if you would like me to have a beginning, like a whole project on painting, fabric painting. I have already done some projects, but people have said that they seem too advanced for them. So you let me know. And so that went really well. I'm really excited to give you guys the results of that. Hello, Amy. Hi, Linda. Hi, Wendy. Crazy Crafting. Can't remember your name. Hi, Paula. Hello, Wendy and Wendy. Is there more than one Wendy? Flower Pot. Hi, Zoe. Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? We got our entire email list all together and sent out an email to everyone on our list, which is about 24,000 plus people. And then, of course, there's 24,000 of you following me on YouTube. So I don't want to disappoint you by being discombobulated today. And it probably seems like I had all day. I should have been able to be ready. But I wear many hats. So I was thinking, I love having these notebooks that I draw in and then have these nice covers. And I did do 2, but now I have a new journal that I'm going to start writing in every day, which is a manifestation journal, because I watched a scientist talk about manifesting and that writing what you want down with a pen in blue, in white paper, in cursive, connects all these different, I can hear the word in my head, but I can't come up with it. It creates all these different connections that increases your brain's activity with relation to the things that that you want to manifest. So I could take a piece of fabric and show you how I would go about embellishing the material and the processes you can do. And it's really kind of cool, because what you can do is you can take your sewing machine stitches and create an album of sorts of your stitches. And one of the best products that we have for sewing trims down on like a single layer of fabric is our Hold Light Stabilizer. Whole light is very misunderstood. It's also great for backing appliques. This is an applique that we used on the Home Shopping Network for years. And every time after the show, we would rip out the bobbin thread and just pull it out and then have it ready for the next show. So I just found it sitting on the floor and I thought, what a great opportunity to play with my new iron, to use the whole light, to show you the satin edge foot, like we used to do on the Home Shopping Network. And I have other things that I need to do. So it is a live show. This is my daughter's cute little shirt, and she gave it to me to mend about 7 years ago. And she was recently here for a day of sewing with me. So I was like, I love showing you guys how I can put knit back together again. There's a bunch of spots where this is broken. And that is done with our octi hoops. So does this sound cool? Like I just kind of mix it up rather than giving you one particular thing. I know that I did read the chat from Saturday's show, which was me basically just letting everybody know that I was back again. And my camera is not focused. I'm all blurry, aren't I? So I'm gonna do the Be Right Back and show you also something that I filmed, but I don't believe I ever uploaded. And tell me, do you want me to do this? Where's that focused? Way over there. Let's see. Oh, I got it upside down. See, that's me at a show. I think I did this in the VIP. So it'd be one of the videos that's in the VIP lounge. I don't know why this camera doesn't want to be in focus. Yeah. I also know that some of you want me to teach this. And this will be a entire class inside of the create.clarerowley.com. This is something that I drew years ago, and then I embroidered it I embroidered it on like a cheesecloth, just to have as an example of what our octi hoops allow you to do. So a lot of people have been wanting to do this. Give you a great good look at it. Oops, I am back. This is the mic just go off again? Why did the mic go off? Something wonky. Oh, the stream is stuck. I don't know why the stream is stuck, and hopefully it'll pick back up and you guys will be able to hear me again. Come on. Am I logged in as that? Let's see. Is that what happened? My phone switched over probably. I don't know what's going on. Everything looks like it's hooked up. It says I'm still streaming, so I'm hoping that it'll just pick up. It looks like the entire internet went off. Oh, welcome to the live. Come on. Please be there. Yay! That was the weirdest thing. So apparently we had an internet outage in the area. And now it looks like, I don't know, I can't hear myself yet, but there's a delay usually. Shows the mic is picking up. I think we're back. Holy moly. See, this is why live is so challenging. So many things that could go wrong. All right. So I think instead of asking you what I'm going to do, I'm going to do what I want to do. I currently have the foot off and white thread on. No, it's not white. It's blue. I'm going to change to white thread. This is the thread dispenser as well. Someone wanted me to explain it better. So it is thunder and lightning season in Colorado. Every day it starts to get a little bit weathery looking outside. I'm going to switch to white thread and I'm going to fix this sweater because I don't have the foot on right now. And I'm using our lingerie thread in the needle because lingerie thread stretches and knits tend to stretch as well. The lounge. You know what? If you lost your internet in the past, it would just be over. Now you can sit there and they let you kind of hang. So if you ever see me like freeze, just kind of hang out for a little bit and know that I'm still there. One of our most popular products is our stick and tear stabilizer. And it was invented by my father. And stick and tear stabilizer is a tearaway that's a non-woven polyester. So it doesn't wash away, which is really important if you're going to work with embroidery, that your embroidery stabilizers don't wash away inside of the stitch. Because then after you wash a garment, they don't really look as good. The product I'm going to use for this, I'm going to use our Octi-Hoops to fix this sweater. However, I'm not going to I'm not going to actually sew through our stick and tear. I'm going to show you a really cool thing that you can do with it, with the Octi-Hoops. And here we go. I got my buttons back. So this camera is way off from where I think it is. There we go. Got a little fuzzy on there. The best size of our stick and tear to get for the Octi-Hoop kit is the 12-inch because it allows you to use all of the different sizes of hoops. And then we just trace around the hoop to cut the right size for your project or for the hoop that you chose to use. And I'm going to go ahead and cut around that. If any of you done any mending using the Octahoops? All my junky scissors are not in the room. Just don't look as I cut with the wrong scissors. One of the problems I'm having with my front camera is it needs more light. And the light that I use to help that camera started acting like a strobe light, so I can't use it right now, and I haven't had a chance to replace it yet. And as I remember how to go live and have everything set up, it'll get better each week. To help me know what to cover each week, you could actually show me by telling me what you guys want me to teach. And that's how this came about. And then somebody on Saturday said they wanted me to do a monkey pattern. I thought they were referring to the monkeys on my sewing machine. I do have monkeys up here in this tree area, and then it flows down into the water where you have tigers. It's so much fun to have a painted sewing machine. You take and peel back the stick and tear stabilizer. Got this camera in the wrong spot. You just kind of fold back like that. And then this is the top of the hoop with the holes in it. So you lay it down on a flat surface. And then take the adhesive and place it on the hoop itself. Rub it and then peel it to the other side. And this is your chance now to position it perfectly or act as close to perfect. We don't really need to be that perfect. I'm so far from seeing what I'm doing because this is the reality is I'm way over here trying to get that camera to see me. How are you guys doing? What do you have on your sewing table? Are any of you sewing right now? And I saw a commercial on Halloween the other day. I almost threw this away, but what we want is to hold on to that. Because what I'm going to do is take this drum, that's how tight it is, drum tight, and I'm going to cut a window in it. So just stab it. And you're going to make a window in the stabilizer so that we don't have to have any stabilizer behind the object that we're going to mend. You can also create a tatting on fabric. So you could have a garment that has a hole, and you can make the hole bigger and intentional and make it look like it was supposed to have that hole because you create an embroidery in it that doesn't have any stabilizer. So it looks like a knitting or a tatting. And we take these scrap and place it back on the release liner because you can use that to patch embroideries later. Let's see if I can't move this top camera. All right, well, that's as good as it's going to get. So now we take the garment that you're trying to fix. And I had my daughter find it for me because I went to fix this several times, but I couldn't find the problems. Here we go. So there's the problem. Look at that. There's a hole there. You see that? So what I'm going to do is lay this down. This is one of the things that my daughter saw me do that made her think, okay, now I want to sew, because that was so cool. So what you're doing is attaching the fabric to the sticky, and you now have the ability to stitch in that hole. I almost want things to fall apart so I can put them back together. And this reminds me, I have a shirt that I love that I fixed. And I don't know where I put that shirt. I think it started falling apart again because I only fixed the area that had fallen apart. And a lot of these garments that are made this way are made from natural fibers. And so the yarn or the thread that they use to make the garments will rot and become weak. So one of your garments that you have to fix, you'll probably have to fix more than once because of that. All right, let's see. I don't have my webcam set up yet. So the lingerie thread, one of the neat things about it is that we have it in white and black, by the way. And it's like a mirror. It reflects the color it's next to. So you can see the throat plate in there. You just finished a tote bag with a recessed zipper. That's so funny because I have a bag that I started in one of the episodes before I moved. And I was thinking it would be really fun to finish that bag. And it has a recessed zipper on the front. So the octaves also have a handle that you hold on to. That bag is somewhere because I had a whole stack of things that I could make. Another thing I was going to show you is how the sequins and ribbon foot sews elastic, not just your regular elastic, but also the fold over elastic. If you'd like me to do that today, give me a thumbs up. This is kind of like your day, or whatever you want Claire to sew today day. I was just looking for the handle. I don't might have one. I must have carried it off. Here we go. So this handle allows me to put it in one of the holes. And then instead of holding my hands on the fabric, I'm able to hold on to the handle. I do want to kind of get an idea as to what this would have been or was before it got damaged. My daughter tends to damage these things a lot. Gives me lots of practice. Something under my feet. Okay. So I have the stitch attached to the yarn, and now I'm going to hold onto the thread and put my finger down on top of it. Too bright a light. Let's see here. Is that better? So now I'm going to just walk over to the other side and now just bring it back again. And this time it dropped into that end drop, because this is a pretty thick yarn. So it took it down there. And I did have questions about using a straight stitch plate. This would be a good time for a straight stitch plate if you have one on your machine. It would be less likely to go down in the hole. But the thing about straight stitch plates is they have a small hole, and sometimes it goes down in the hole and you can't just bring it back up like I was able to just then. Hi, Carol. Oh my God, you guys, you need to be honored and say hi to Carol. This is Carol Ann Waugh. She's the author of Stupendous Stitching. And I love you. I live in Durango now, Carol. Maybe we can do an event together in the area. Hint, hint. So if you still have I will have the link in the description below this video after the live is over to go to my school. I'm pretty sure you're a member of the school, Carol. So if you haven't seen Stupendous Stitching, it's still on, right, Carol? I'm now going to reduce my tension. Boy, I tell you, we all lost touch after the big C happened. It's so exciting to know you're watching right now. Don't feel like you have to stay just because you popped in. So I am stitching across, and I should be letting you see. There we go. So this little handle, I would love to have seen you play around with the octaves, Carol. So I'm basically right now just creating little bridges to go across, and you go over, back over the opening. And this nylon lingerie thread is a lot stronger than this natural fiber that this sweater was built in, or this knit. The octahoops are not just for embroidery. And you guys, you can kind of see that there's no longer a hole, right? So when I'm done connecting all these, I'll give you guys a look at it up close so you can see. Now my daughter can finally wear this. It's so funny because she just went to a girls' weekend for one of her close friends' 40th birthdays. I can't believe my daughter's 40. Oh my gosh. My daughter's not 40. She's 37. She's the same age as my company. The Creative Feet is 37 years old. Creative Feet will be 38 in August. If you're just new to me, know that these products work on all sewing machines. So if you want, Carol, I can give you a ring on the phone. If your phone number's changed, you can drop me a note. Any way you can. Because we need to catch up. All right, so now I'm going to cut the thread and show you what it looks like now. Can you tell? Can you tell where the damage was? Isn't that cool? And what's really cool is nothing was stitched onto the stabilizer. So this is one of the really neat features of the stick and tear stabilizer is its incredible hold on when you're holding on to something. And it is designed to hold on to our hoop on the back and then come off of it. So you're not stuck with, that's funny. It's not permanently stuck to the hoop. Fabrically Speaking Live was in season 5. So I guess this is season 6. But I'm just starting. Oh no, the sound just went off again. The internet is unstable. Yay, it's back. Okay, so I'm going to fix the other spot because why not? It's all set up. And you saw how fast that was. This one, no wonder I couldn't see this one. It's so small. I'll let you guys see it before so you know it existed. Now you're going to know why I had no idea where the other hole was. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. This little tail. So I'm going to be taking this over to there. And you could do it by hand if you're a by hand person. But I am not a by hand person. You have cousins in Durango? Oh my gosh, this would be so cool. So Carol wrote her book and then met me afterward. She showed up at the show in the Denver Merchandise Mart. How many years ago was that, Carol? Oh gosh, where's that? Oh, here we go. You would know because that's the year you published your book. If you have not seen, and you know what? We could add Stupendous Stitching back into my website. But for right now, I will. I don't know. We lost touch. There's the hole. Okay. So what happened was the email company that I was using, they had an overzealous employee that had me. We definitely have intermittent internet today. Sorry about that, you guys. And they pretty much archived like 70% of my list. So there's a lot of people that have no idea what happened to me. But I've never been, I was never gone. However, I did move from Arizona to Colorado because my daughter's been living here for 10 years. But she kept going, well, I don't know if you're going to like living there when it snows and we might move and we might. So I was just waiting on my kids. And then one day I was on the phone with my daughter and her husband walked in while we were talking and he goes, why doesn't your mom live here? And that's when I said, well, I thought you guys were going to move and I'm not going to move more than one more time in my lifetime. So then that was it. My daughter went, all right, you're moving here. And within a couple of weeks, I was here looking at places to live. And so there's that. Did any of you move to be closer to your kids? I made really strong coffee today and my hands are shaky. There's probably more breaks in this that my eyes can't see. Maybe not. She's going to be like, oh my gosh, you finally fixed it. It only took you 8 years. This gives you an idea how small my daughter is. All right. So I've been doing a lot of knitting because I have lost some weight and I did it by doing intermittent fasting. And since I've lived here, I've been a lot more active. So that's one of the things you can do with the octahoops. You can also do free motion embroidery. You can embroider on wedding veils using that same technique that I just did. You just put some tulle right over that and you can draw on that, which is something that you just can't do without our stabilizer and our hoop. And if you noticed, I did not use a foot because the stick and tear is in essence a foot. The purpose of a presser foot is it holds down the fabric for you. So as the needle exits the fabric stays down. So the Octahoops is a giant free motion foot. All right. We're having intermittent issues again. The intermittent internet. I did this free motion. Gotta see where my buttons are. I did this design on this little hot pad that I made using the pearls and piping foot. And this is a way of binding a quilt where you stitch in a ditch from the back and then you're in the ditch on the top, which is a way of binding a quilt. And then we have this binding technique, the faux binding, and you'll see that the miters are perfectly in line with one another. And that is done using my binding technique. Tell me who you are, Share 4594. I know I recognize that name. It's so nice to be not invisible anymore. Can you imagine 70% of your email list all of a sudden not being there anymore? I sent out emails and it's like, everyone just disappeared. No one loves me. See that? This is one of my favorite projects I've ever done. And I'll tell you how I did that. Now you know why there's going to be a lot of new people in the feed, you guys, because they're not new. They're just from the past. And we're looking at this one. So if you look in my channel, you'll find this project. This is blanket stitch applique. And I provided the pattern in the description below this video. And then I used the Octahoops to elevate this into this whimsical design. And just, if you can draw a bee on a piece of paper, you can draw a bee on your quilt. I don't want to stitch on this anymore because I like it how it is. But I could, even though it's bound, as I showed on Saturday. So on Saturday, I did work on this one down here a bit. And that one also has faux binding. I think in my last Novi. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad that you guys, I'm so glad you didn't give up on me. And what I was doing before the pandemic was I was creating a school called createwithclarerowley.com, Carol, where you can actually have a class in there too and teach in my school. And anyone else in here who may be a teacher, know that that was my intention as well, to not just be me in there. Using my tweezers to tighten down the snap-on adapter for the presser foot. And I'm going to play with the creative feet now. And if any of you don't know what the creative feet are, give me a thumbs up. Because there's people in here that are aware of it. The satin edge foot is our most popular foot, and it's the first foot that I created when I was 19 years old. I'm now in my 60s, and the satin edge foot makes it so you don't need a serger to do the serger stitching, and it actually covers the entire edge of the fabric without having to cut the fabric as you sew. One of the stabilizers that we offer is one called Fuse and Fuse, which is one of the softest stabilizers there is, and you can fuse two different colored fabrics together and cross the grains, which then makes the fabric have no stretch in any direction. So that means that you can cut any kind of shape that you want and create a napkin with that shape. Or you can hem a little girl's dress with it, or make curtains that have scallopy edges as well. It also allows you to do the free motion or the raw edge applique, satin stitch edge applique. And I guess this was the last time this fabric was sewn on was 1998 when we stopped going on the home. A whole lifetime ago. You like this? This is a dress, and I just bought it on Amazon. It was only like, I think it was under $10. I think it was $9.89 or something. And I love it. If you ever want me to share a link for anything like that, just go ahead and click on my face in my school, and you can ask me questions. You can create a chat with just us, and the chat never disappears. So what I'm looking for is what thread color I'm going to use. I'm going to take this lingerie thread off. This is the best thread for bobbin. For machine embroidery, free motion applique. I don't know if Michelle is in here right now. She's been asking me lots of questions about embroidery, and one of the things she asked me about was, is it a good idea to get a bobbin case just for free motion? And this makes it so you don't have to. The lingerie thread increases tension, which does what a separate bobbin case for free motion would do, where you would set your tension slightly higher. Why do you want your bobbin tension higher than your top tension for free motion? And there is going to be a giveaway at the end of this live today. In order to be in the live giveaway, you have to actually have interacted in the chat, and you have to have the answer to the questions. And I don't just do one question. Whoever answers the question I ask fastest at the end is the winner of the giveaway. That way I don't have to do any drawings or anything. You know it's fair. And know this, I am the one who sees the live first. So you will not be able to, you won't even see that someone actually answered prior or before you necessarily. But you can always look back at the chat afterward. So the bobbin case being bigger or tighter, or your tension being tighter on the bottom, makes it so that you don't have to worry about your bobbin thread coming up to the top. Have you ever had that happen? If you have, give me a thumbs up or whatever. Hi, Linda. So Pearl. So that's Pearl. Man, Novi, Michigan used to be such an amazing show. When I think back at the shows and the first International Quilt Festival, we had 10 rows of people. That means 10 women standing side by side in a line that went all the way around the George R. Brown Convention Center in Houston, Texas. And then it was also full on the bottom, full upstairs. And the fire department made us open early because the outside was a fire hazard, or they were worried about people getting hurt. I wish they were like that. Oh, hi. What is your name, Zito41? So you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of sad to have seen the sewing shows go down as far as they have. And then when COVID hit, obviously we couldn't do any shows. And during that time, I didn't stay the age I was. I got older. And I kind of like being home after 30 plus years of doing shows. And the whole idea was to create, my daughter actually, as wise as she was, this was before COVID, she goes, so if you couldn't do shows anymore, then what would you do? And so then I created the school. That way I don't have to not have shows. You're around my table right now, right? Is this how it felt when you guys were sitting in the chairs? How many of you sat like almost all day in my booth? So this is what I would do for every home shopping appearance. This thing looks pretty bad. We would iron this other stabilizer to the back. We have a much better stabilizer now. So I'm going to show you the whole light. And my sister Kathy used to do these shows as well. So some of you met her and never met me, but thought you met me because she looks like me. And this is, so that is 1998. So this is like 18-year-old stabilizer. If I did the math wrong, feel free to correct me, Amy. Okay. Love you guys, you know. There's nothing like the hugs in the booth. So this is something that you guys can learn. This is the back side of that embroidery. And in this case, we would just use the same color thread and the needle and the bobbin. And, oh yeah. I had my needle, I had my seam ripper in my hand. I was carrying it around. I'm going, you got to put that in your sewing room. If you cut your bobbin thread on the back side, then your needle thread will just come right out. I'm not going to worry about doing all of that. But this thread will then just unravel. And I had younger eyes back. The whole light is a interesting stabilizer. Oh, so dusty. That's a lot. That's old dust. Ancient dust. I got my new handy dandy. Look at how cute my iron is, in case you weren't in the live on Saturday, Amy. Isn't that adorable? Everyone kept telling me to get a smaller iron. And Elisa was across from me in November last year in Seattle, Washington at a show. So I was like, okay, you have a small iron. And I was like, all right, that's it. That's my iron. My color. And it has this little on-off button that you push. And you should, I'm going to let it get hot. And we timed it. We were timing it on Saturday. It's already almost hot. I'm trying to find the end of this. Where is it? There it is. This looks like cellophane, doesn't it? We call it Hold Light because it's very lightweight. But it's also called Hold Light because it holds the fabric in place for you. It doesn't have any bias. But what's really neat about this is that it does not need a hot temperature. Right now I have it set on really hot so you can see. And I'm probably going to have an affiliate link in this video for you guys so that you can buy one and I get a little credit for it, whatever. So you just push on this button and come on, move there. It shoots out about 3 feet. Check this out. So you'll see it be all the way out to there. That's good. But we don't want any steam when we work with the Hold Light because this is a solid barrier between you and your fabric. And fabric has weave to it. So if you shoot steam through it, it goes through it. But when steam hits this, it's like a wall and it has to shoot it out. So the steam would come back at you. And this is a tricky one to remember, but you want the shiny side to the iron. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the back of this fabric like ice skates on ice. This is right now pretty rough, so it will stick to the sewing machine. So the non-shiny side is to the fabric and the shiny side is out. And we don't want the iron to be that hot. You'll be able to see how quick this bonds. You're not just a light touch. So if this is minky, you can iron this on a minky because you don't need the high setting. You can use the lower settings on the iron. Now you know why there's lower settings. So I was like, what are the lighter settings for? They don't seem to do anything. I'm just kidding. I know what they were for. All right, so we want this to be cool when we work with it. And this is now like really slippery, which means when it goes on the machine, it's going to let me move my fabric around without it getting stuck on the sewing machine. If you've ever done applique or machine embroidery or free motion quilting and your fabric kind of jerked on you, that's because you're pushing down against the sewing machine, and the sewing machine's surface is kind of sticky-ish. It's kind of like trying to slide off of a car wearing Daisy Duke shorts. Your legs would stick to the car. Ooh, it's getting hot in here. Yesterday was the hottest day since I've been here at 96 degrees. What's the temperature where you guys are at so that I can quit complaining, because I'm sure it's worse in other areas because we don't have a lot of humidity here. So those of you who are used to me saying my show is on Thursdays at 2, except for this time of the year, it's this time, and that time, it's another time, know that I'm no longer in Arizona. So time does not... Time for me is I'm always mountain time. Now that I'm in Colorado. Trying to remember what I'm doing. Oh, I'm looking for a satin edge foot. But I also found a Bernina snap-on adapter so you guys can see how our feet attach to the Bernina. And are you still a Bernina person, Carol? Are you still in the chat? She probably bailed. Okay. This is a Bernina snap-on adapter. And then we also have there's these low shank adapters as well for Bernina that have a screw that goes in there, which I don't know where that is. But the Bernina adapter lets you share feet with other sewing machine companies like Janome. What is all over that foot? You can tell I don't use this foot. No. Sorry about that. So basically, if this foot weren't filthy, it would be working. Where's my satin edge feet? This is silly. So do you like the idea of me teaching another one of those? There we go. I had this in a drawer. This is the satin edge foot, and it has this little wire inside the zigzag opening. And this is the foot that I designed for a woman named Mary when I was 19, who was born blind and deaf. Whoopsie. Oh gosh, I'm saying whoopsie again. This piece is sticking up. I'm going to press that down. Turn the iron setting up higher. I can push steam from the top. Look at that, that stabilizer adhered itself again. All right. can never have too many classes. Thank you. All right. Sorry, I'm slower because I went almost a year without going live. With this foot, what we're going to do is select the zigzag stitch width that we like to use or want to use. And the sewing machine needle is going to swing right and left. And when the needle is in its right swing, I'm going to lower the needle down into the fabric and then turn this nut on the foot, moving the wire over to the needle. Now, if you don't have our satin edge foot and you have an applique foot or a open toe foot or a satin stitch foot, what I'm going to teach or show here, you can use in that. And just know that what this foot does is it makes it so that if you don't have good eyesight or your hand-eye coordination isn't quite what it used to be, or if your hands are, not, they're like stiff, this will help you sew better. So you're still here? All right, so so Carol can tell you. The 440 Bernina, or is that the 440 Janome? Been a while. I made these little batting covers for my lights, mute it to reduce shadow, and the batting goes in the air. So if you ever see me doing this, that's batting that's floating in the air, getting on Claire. I'll bring my needle down in the right swing of the zigzag stitch. This is when, if you need glasses, you should wear your glasses. And I was going to bring in my prescription glasses, but I forgot. It was almost perfect. So you choose the width of the stitch, bring your needle down into the right swing of the zigzag stitch, then move the guide over to the needle. Since the needle is lowered, it's at its widest point, and the tip is actually halfway between the left and right side of the needle. So when the needle is down, you bring the guide over to it, and then that's what your sewing machine is going to be doing. It's going to be swinging over that guide. That means the guide isn't going to change position. So you don't have to watch the sewing machine needle as you sew, which makes you not need your glasses after you get the foot set up. This light is in my way. Here we go. And normally what people do is they get their hands in the applique position and then they look down like that because you're trying to watch the needle move left and right. So once you realize you don't need to watch the needle, you'll realize that you don't need to hunch over your sewing machine either, which means that you're not going to be hurting your back. So if you've ever stitched with your hands like this, with your elbows up a little bit for a long time, you know that between your shoulder blades and your back will start to burn. And not your body, your brain saying, stop it. Don't do that anymore. It's bad for you. This foot eliminates the need to do that. I'm selecting a 3.5 millimeter stitch length or width. And now I'm going to bring the stitch length down. I really don't know what stitch length to make it because I don't remember what we used to use, but we used to not have the hold light when we were on Home Shopping Network. So this is a product that can make it so you can embroider on sweaters, sweatshirts, any kind of knit or difficult to handle fabric, as like Minky I mentioned, and you don't have to worry about the fabric getting melted from the iron, and also because thicker fabrics are harder to feed. You'll see that I am not putting my hands on the fabric, and the reason I'm not is because if I hold the fabric, then I don't really know what the stitch length is supposed to be. This is mostly what I do. I rest my elbow on the table, which is why I have my elbow pillows, which I don't know where they are right now. I'll just do this. Something soft to put your elbow on. And you're able to be a proper distance away. What is the proper distance to be away from your needle? What do you guys think? How far away do you hold your hand to read? That is how far your nose should be away from the needle. So if you're getting right up on your needle, all you're doing is making your eyes blur and you're not increasing your chances of seeing. So elbows down, shoulders relaxed. And the stitch length is going to be based on the thickness of the thread, the thickness of the fabric, and how the sewing machine behaves with it. And then I'm watching the guide on the foot, not the sewing machine needle. So my focus is right here on the front of the foot, not at the needle. I do, when I'm first starting, look in there though to make sure my stitch length is what I want it to be. When we went on the Home Shopping Network with this foot, within 15 minutes they would sell out. We sent them like 20,000 feet. 15 minutes, sold out. And that shows you how exciting and different the creative feet were back then, before embroidery machines came out to compete with us. In a long time. Oh, so what I'm doing is I'm continuing to watch the front of the foot. And as I see a space be created because of the shape, because I'm not looking at the needle, instead I'm looking where I'm going, I can anticipate or compensate and start to turn. Now, if you use any other foot, you're told to stop with the needle down in the outside swing. Like this, lift, turn, move the fabric, and then sew. And then stop with the needle down in the outside swing, lift, turn, and then sew. But with the satin edge foot, because we're looking where we're going, not where we're at, there is a point at which if a shape is too small, you'll have to stop and pivot. But I don't have to worry about lowering the needle because the needle is set up to the guide. So you can just lift and pivot instead of having to lower your needle. So this makes the applique faster, you're more accurate, your hands don't hurt because you're not pushing down, trying to manipulate the fabric, your elbows are resting so your back doesn't get tense. And how you build an applique is that you always work from the piece that's farther down, like layers. If you work with like Adobe Photoshop, you know that you work in layers. Well, you work in layers on a fabric applique too. Would you guys like me to go around this with a blanket stitch? Hi, Sharon. You're not a by hand person either? The pearls and piping foot I designed for someone who did too much hand sewing. So it isn't just that I don't like to do hand sewing, because there is some kind of beauty in just sitting there and stitching. And I feel like we get a connection to our ancestors before the sewing machine, as everything was done by hand. But the longer you hold something by hand and you squeeze it, you start to get disfigured joints. And that's the body's physiology trying to not have the muscles and tendons get tired. And so your body will, like, the bone actually changes to hold the hand in that position. The pearls and piping foot I invented for a woman who was sewing beads on wedding dresses for her entire life. She never married, didn't have any kids, and she was getting older, and she came into the shop, A American Sewing Center in Woodland Hills, California at the time. At the time when she walked in, we were in the Fallbrook Square. Were we in the Fallbrook? We had 3 different locations that I worked at before I moved from California to Arizona. So at any rate, she was hand sewing all her life, and beads came out on a string. So that's how long ago this was. The very first pearl on a string. These. And the first color was white for bridal. And she was super excited because she's like, I think I can keep sewing these, because her doctor said you're going to lose all use of your hands if you don't stop holding the needle and holding the fabric. And she already had lost the ability to move all of these fingers. These were locked in place. And she had only a little bit of motion. So she operated throughout her life with this like claw-like. It was really upsetting for her, obviously. And I had already, all the dealers across the United States were trying to figure out how to sew this on. You may have even taken a class where we glued it on with a hot glue gun or used fabric paint and then kind of laid it in the fabric paint. This was the beginning. But when she walked into my store, I was like, okay, this is how we're doing it. And we had a zipper foot on, and we'd have the person stick their finger out and push their finger against the pearls, against the zipper foot, which was crazy. But people did do it. And so she basically couldn't do it. And she broke down and cried in the store that day. I went home that night and I went to sleep. And I do have lucid dreams. That's not uncommon for inventors. So actually in my sleep that night, I was in the store in my mind, trying all these different feet and making grooves. And so I basically worked all night in my sleep and then went in the morning. In 15 minutes, I had a pearls and piping foot for her. And it evolved into something better. So that's why I highly recommend not hand sewing unless you absolutely have to. And if you do a lot of hand sewing, make sure your elbows are supported by something so you're not lifting your arms, because that can cause fusion in your back as well. Not to mention your teeth. So if you clench your teeth when you hand sew, try to relax the mouth as well. In other words, just don't hand sew unless you have to. So now I'm back to finishing this off, and I'm going to do a blanket stitch around here, collecting the blanket stitch on my sewing machine. And I'm going to shorten the length because I like it to show up more. And in this case, we're going to have the needle come. So here's the pin. We're going to have the needle come down on the side of the pin and go over and over. And then it's going to stitch off the edge and go in, stitch off the edge and go in. So this time we don't go swing over the pin. Are you guys having trouble hearing me? It could be because I had my face down. The microphone is set to the point where it can get too high. Maybe that's it. I'm glad you let me know, though. If you don't let me know, I don't know that you can't hear, but it's probably because I have it set too high. And I know that sounds like not the right answer, but if you go too high, then you get interference. How does that sound? Does that sound good? Maybe your device, you need to raise the volume. All right. Putting on my glasses. Whoopsie, should have double checked. I didn't double check. So what I did just now was hit my sewing machine needle on the guide pin on the foot because I didn't look. And since I don't really care about this, as it's, gosh, how many years old is it? 1998. Too short. Oh, I know. I usually make it longer, not shorter. Once again, I don't have to stop and lower my needle as I'm going around a curve as much. I just look at the front of the foot, and if there's a space forming, I bring the fabric back to the guide with my elbows down and my shoulders relaxed. But it'll get messy sometimes if you don't stop and lower the needle, but you don't have to then raise the foot. So it's just dropping down the needle And if you do need to lower the needle, it's always on the outside swing. And don't have to sit there with your hand on the hand wheel, constantly turning the hand wheel. You can hear the needle cutting through the fabric. All right. Enough of that, because I'm just going to be ripping this out anyway. You can see the, oh, it's all blurry. Why is it blurry? I did a good job here and didn't do a good job here. Mostly because I have a bunch of equipment right in front of me and I'm tipped to the side, which makes my perspective go off. Next, foot. I talked about the pearls and piping foot, and I have pearls right here, and some lace. It's still attached. I have some more. So this is really see-through. I'm just going to show a couple things, and then I'll move on to the sequins and ribbon. Where's the end? It's like having a necklace and you can't find the end. There we go. So there's a lot of copycat pearls and piping feet out there, but the unique qualities of this foot were born out of helping that woman who could not extend her fingers. So it's why you don't have to guide the pearls. And Carol from Carol and Ross Stupendous Stitching, who's in the chat today, maybe still there, she binds and finishes the edges of her quilts using the pearls and piping foot and rat tail cording. It's a really fast and effective and beautiful technique for binding in a different way. And you don't have to hold on to the cord at all when you're binding your quilt. This is the pearls and piping foot, and it is the only foot in the world that has this slider on the snap-on bar, which changes the position of the trim beneath your sewing machine needle. It also has a patented shape of the tunnel. Now there's feet that they almost look the same as this foot, but they don't behave at all the same. You don't know which side to put the washer on, to have it on the left or the right, until you put the foot on to the machine. Wasn't all the way over. Then you place the trim that you're going to sew beneath the foot and under the tunnel. And follow the directions. So in this case, I'm going to use a zigzag stitch. And you can use invisible thread if you don't want the thread to show. You can also match the thread to the fabric, and then it won't show up as much either, and you'll just have a stitch between the pearls that matches the fabric itself. Then you turn the hand wheel and bring your needle down, and in this case, my needle is about to hit that pearl, which makes me remember that I did just break that or hurt the tip of that needle. So I'm going to take that needle off and replace it real quick. It's a good time for you guys to ask a question. I'm trying to remember that I've got 2 things already to ask at the end of the video, and that's how you win the giveaway. And in today's giveaway, I'm going to give away some trim that's already ready to ship out to you guys. And since it's not as easy to find trims these days, do any of you have a good source for trim for your fellow creatives here in the chat? I changed my needle. That's a leather needle, not big. For those of you who aren't sure about why there's so many sizes of needles and styles, it does matter. And my father and I actually met the inventor of the universal Schmetz needle. I think I was 16 when I met him. He was traveling around the United States trying to get the sewing machine manufacturers. He was traveling around the world, but he was in the United States and trying to get the manufacturers of sewing machines to all agree to change their design so that they could all share needles. Prior to that, we had a big binder based on the machine, brand, and model that you had. And we had to follow all these different needle systems. And then we were able to get a needle that wouldn't cut the fabric. So inside of my Creative Feet techniques, my Creative Feet technical guide and workbook, I tell you what needle to use: needle thread, stitch length, stitch width, stitch pattern, foot pressure, thread tension, so that you don't have to learn all of those. The universal needle. What makes the universal needle have the word universal? Is it universal to all fabrics? Or is it universal to all domestic sewing machines, since he came out with the universal needle? And his purpose was to create a light ballpoint needle. I love the needle threaders. Are you talking about a topper, or are you talking about the stuff I put on the bottom? Because what I put on the bottom can also be used as a topper. So you must have been watching another video other than this one, because this is live. Our embroidery topper is Cover Up. And they're vinyl materials that are perfect for the needle. If you've ever touched a vinyl fabric, you know sometimes they're really sticky. The vinyl that we have is really slippery. It doesn't have a lot of static electricity. So when you use it as a topper, it blocks the fabric and prevents the fabric from coming up. So I did, like, if you look for my Hello Kitty video, HALLOW, Hello Kitty, the pattern is referenced in the video as well. I believe the pattern is in the school. I did an embroidered cat face on fur. So that, getting an eye to show up on fur, real fur, not faux fur. I'm pretty sure that cat was real fur, black fur. Not real fur. So it's still faux fur, but it's fur rather than minky. Yes. I did not use vinyl today. Did I? No, I did not. Were you watching me do stuff earlier before I went live? Fabric Cover Up is our vinyl, but I have not done it today. I will if you want me to. I'm in it. I'm having fun being live again. You can probably get me to do just about anything right now. So I'm just so grateful that the equipment is working. I have a zigzag stitch. This is me showing you the needle. Somebody at a show goes, "What is this?" And I go, "Oh, I didn't explain it. I just figured everyone knew all these years that this was me representing the needle." So you choose the width of your stitch based on the instructions and the size of the trim that you're sewing, and bring the needle down into the outside swing, and then And then we're going to be able to sew over that and place the tunnel on the fabric, and the bead is off and out in outer space. And that is how you can also bind your quilts using rat tail cording. This is another thing that you wouldn't want to try without our foot, because I don't have to guide the pearls. The pearls are free to do whatever they want. I'm going to set my hand here so you can see that I'm not helping. What I'm doing is steering the fabric, making sure this thread tail, I gotta get rid of it. You look at the front of your machine and try to find a spot that represents the left swing hitting the fabric and the right swing going off. And then the pearls do not have to be in line at all. The way I engineered this foot for the woman who could not extend her fingers out was so that she never had to touch the pearls. That's why this works so good. So you're just guiding your fabric, and the pearls are embraced, they're guided in, and they're guided in front, and they're guided through, and they're guided past and out the other side. Before I invented this foot, there was no foot with a groove that allowed you to zigzag. There was a welting foot for piping with a straight stitch hole for industrial sewing machines. That was it. Everybody used the zipper foot to sew piping. So it's right on the edge. The camera's having trouble keeping up with me. I'm going to grab some rat tail cording, I think. I'll just go off. I'll just finish this. Rat tail cording. One of the really neat things about this foot is that it gathers the fabric for you. So we're going to turn this into a little skirt. Straight stitch. Sew a few stitches forward, a few stitches back to secure the end. Increase tension to 9. And increase your stitch length to the longest setting. And if you're thinking, tension on 9? Is there a 9 on my tension? So you go all the way up to the tightest. And on the length, you want to go all the way to the longest. And the most important part is that you actually begin by stitching forward and back. And then this foot will just gather the fabric all the way up without you having to do any pulling of the threads at all. It just gathers it all the way up. And that's probably too tight. It's going to gather it all the way up to its full gather. The neat thing about this is that it's a gather. I'll be able to adjust it. Cut your needle thread short. Keep your bobbin thread long. And that's why I use 2 different colors, so I can tell which one's bobbin and which one's needle. And then you're able to just ease that right out to make it however long or however long you need this to be. So if this were a Barbie skirt, you would need at least 6 inches, because that's her waist, to create a little Barbie skirt. A fancy Barbie skirt. What is the difference between a gather and a ruffle? A gather is usually done with a technique where the thread is tight and you can't ease the fabric after you've stitched it. And a gather, both a gather and a ruffle are a ruffle in the end, but one is an adjustable gather and the other is not. and usually done with a gathering foot or ruffler foot, which a lot of people have and don't know how to use. Do you have a ruffler and you don't know how to use it? I think you're thinking of this pearl, and it probably seemed like a topper because it was laying down on top of the fabric and I ironed it down. But that's our hold light. And in applique, it's a backing to make it slippery. However, you can tape the hold light onto a piece of inkjet printer paper and run it through your printer and print out a design like this butterfly using the hold light. And you print on the porous side. It's really cool. It's a substitute for my chicken rinse, which is currently not available. So on this side of the stabilizer, it's got a matte surface, and this is the side you print on. So you would tape it to a piece of paper and then run it through your printer, whatever you want to embroider. And then after you wait for it to really dry because the ink can smear. And then you iron it to your fabric, and the ironing side is shiny side to the iron. So the ink gets stuck in between the hold light and your shirt and can never wash away. And that means that this butterfly is permanent. The ink is in there, but also I use the hold light on the back as well. The ironing of the hold light on the back makes the t-shirt just lay there. So this is an embroidered t-shirt with a regular sewing machine, which was unheard of and impossible before my OctiHoop. If you go out there and you start learning about free motion embroidery, you'll notice most people teach free motion embroidery on a different type of fabric, like bridal illusion, or what did we used to use? We used to use, what is that fabric? It was like a bridal fabric that was, can't remember the name of it. So when I created the OctiHoops, I was making it so that you could do everything an embroidery machine can do with your home sewing machine. And this, I'll give you a good look at this close up. Now this design is in the VIP group, this butterfly, so that you can print that out and do that. And then there is a video in my YouTube channel. And I'm not sure, but you can type butterfly in the search. When you're inside of my channel and you see my heading at the top, there's an hourglass, not an hourglass, a magnifying glass image, and then there's a line, and you can type in there. You can type in butterfly, and then you'll get all the butterfly. Anything I've done that has anything to do with butterflies will come up, because there's hundreds of videos already in my YouTube channel. So then there's the cover up, and cover up is the vinyl. And we have it in white, clear, and black. We used to have it in 16 colors. This is a roll of black. When you get the OctiHoops, you did receive some of the clear. Oh my gosh, I still have this sitting around. This is what we used to have. But the colors just weren't selling, and we couldn't afford to stock. To take it was like an entire garage full of rolls and rolls and rolls of vinyl. So before I moved, I closed out all of the colors because they pretty much weren't selling. Here we go. So this is what the clear cover up looks like. So you can see it is different than what I was doing at the beginning of the video. So you're gonna receive this. Notice this isn't crystal clear. It has a frosty look to it. So it blocks a lot of the colors that are in between. This also allows you to draw on it. So say you just want to monogram or something, you can write right on the vinyl and then stitch over it, and it will stay in the stitching. I wasn't prepared to talk about this, so I don't have something just sitting around. But I do have videos on monogramming, and you will see me use it on monogramming. I also printed out a Precious Moments design, and I used a marker. So I basically laid it over a printout of the Precious Moments, and I colored it in with the colors. And then if you plan it and you color it, whatever direction you color it, you're going to lay it down and sew over it. So it's how you position the cover up on top. But you want to make sure the ink itself ends up face down on the fabric so that the ink can never wash away. And that means that clear can be every color that your thread will ever be. And it ended up becoming so popular that all the other colors weren't that necessary. And if you don't know what that means, so imagine you're going to do a snowman for Christmas time or the holidays or winter. And your snowman needs to be fully white, but you're stitching it on a black. You could be stitching forever and never get all the black fabric covered up with white thread. And even if you did, the white thread would not be pure white. It looks like it has a gray tint to it because it reflects, the shiny threads reflect the color it's on. So our toppers, and the fact that they do not wash away, they're permanent, means that when you give someone a towel that you embroider on and that nappiness of the towel is just held in place and held down, you can embroider Christmas stockings, and the fur, you can have a long fur, and it just holds it down, and it can never lift up and look messy after washing. So we have the hold light and the cover up that can both be used as permanent toppers. And a topper is an embroidery term for those of you who don't do embroidery. Organza, that was it. Thank you. That was forever ago. I can't believe that made me feel a little misty. My mom and I took Luann's creative stitching. She was the first lady to teach free motion embroidery. And I was 16, and my mom and I took her class in North Hollywood, California, and I was hooked. And then I just started embroidering and started teaching it. And when my dad invented the hoop-it-all, for those of you who don't know what the hoop-it-all was, it was the first hoop for embroidering on baseball caps. That was my daddy. And it was made possible by his stick and tear, which was the stabilizer I cut the window in to do the knitting, fixing. And if you're coming in now, it's this. This was cut, and I fixed it earlier on in the video. So after this video is no longer live, you should be able to rewind and go back and see how I brought this back together despite it having a hole with no stabilizer behind the fabric. But we did use a stabilizer to make it so I could sew without a stabilizer. And so I did two things with the pearls and piping foot. Now I'm going to move on to the sequins and ribbon foot. And then we'll end this video unless you guys really, really, really want me to do something. But I'm already 20 minutes over an hour. And my goal is to have the show last an hour. It's always been my goal. So what are you guys having for dinner? I know some of you are preparing dinner. Hi, Deborah from Texas. There's someone else from Houston in here. So each of the creative feet come with adapters, by the way. I'm the inventor of the first one-piece adapter. And this is the low shank, and we have all the different ankle length so that you can just snap them onto the foot like that. Should you need one of the adapters, you may be able to just snap our foot right on to your sewing machine like that. And you'll see the foot tips back, and that's because the sewing machine is bearing the weight of this whole assembly here, so it kind of just tips back like that. And then once you put it down, it no longer tips back. This is a Bernina snap-on adapter, and it'll do the same thing. It'll just fall back. And that's no problem. Once you put the foot down, it's stable. So the sequins and ribbon foot comes with a 1/4-inch slot for 1/4-inch wide trims. Like this ribbon. There's something in here. I wonder what's in there. That's like a little kid's game. I remember doing something like that. Do you guys remember that? What's in there? I don't know what's in there. Something in there. Oh, do any of you remember? Do you guys remember that game? You go like this and try to get a little ball to go. I don't know what's in there. I'm gonna have to tear that thing apart. So this is the Pico Edge ribbon. Chinese tonight. I keep just cooking for myself and getting a little bored. That's more. There's the batting fuzz. It just flies in the air. All right, so we're coming up to the end of the video when I will ask questions. And whoever gets the answers right first is the winner. So if you're walking around your house, probably got 15 minutes. And then I'll be ending the video so you guys can eat your dinner. By the way, I still have the 20% coupon running right now on my site. And you generally, when you go to creativefeet.com, you'll see it at the top, but I don't think it's up there right now. And if this coupon works at any time, know that this is July 30th of 2026. And I do repeat coupons from time to time, so you can always try members 20 for 20% off. Another moderator just handled this. I'm the only moderator. I have no idea what's going on. So this is a really challenging ribbon to sew because it has loops on both sides. But for the sequins ribbon foot, it's easy peasy. Just want to know which side is right, and it'll curve to the wrong side. You can use the double needle and sew both sides of the ribbon down at the same time. And I'm going to attach these two fabrics together. This is a piecing technique that you can do with our liquid-based glue. So I am going to place glue on the edge of this fabric. You just do dot, 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 little dots down, and then slide your finger across. And then you just lay the fabric over the top. So there's no seam allowance. An overlapping seam. This is a similar technique that I do for lingerie sewing. You don't sew right sides together, you overlap and stitch across, and that gives you the flattest seam that you can get without irritating your skin and without being able to be seen through your fabric. I hope that makes sense. At this point, I'm starting to not know that what I'm saying is what I'm saying. This ribbon is now going to be laying on top of the fabric that's on top. My goal is to keep the edge of the ribbon lined up with the edge of that fabric. And I'm going to use a stitch that I really like. It's called the shell tuck stitch. And the shell tuck stitch looks similar to a blanket stitch. it sews straight, straight, over, back, straight, straight, over, back. A blanket stitch goes front, back, front, back, front, back, over, and there's a lot more stitches to it. You could use a blanket stitch if you want, but it's really aggressive on the fabric. A knit edge or a shell-tuck stitch is designed for lingerie. It's designed for you to sew on the edge, and your lingerie ends up tucking in from the stitch that goes across. It pulls and causes your sheer materials to create a shell-looking edge. But when you use a fabric that's firm, like these cotton fabrics, the stitch will be fully visible, and it won't cause the fabric to buckle in. However, this stitch does have a stitch that runs straight and then goes over this way, and I want the stitch to be on this side to sew a seam. I use the mirroring option on my machine, which means that if the stitch is facing this way, you push a button and it makes the stitches look that way. If your machine doesn't have that, then you can just bring the fabric around the other way. The goal is to have the stitch be on both of the fabrics and not just on one. This is too much information, especially since I don't have my front camera attached yet to the show. So stitches are going, it's sewing on both fabrics, stitch, 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 and then it's going to go over the ribbon and over into the green fabric. I'll switch cameras in a second for you. Just want to make sure that this ribbon is feeding straight. Now what's going on is my needle is way over here instead of right next to the ribbon. So I turn the nut and move the ribbon over to the needle using the foot itself. That way I don't have to sit there and try to get my ribbon to go where I want it to go. I'm going to go a little bit longer on the length, and I'll show you the close-up. I'm also going to reduce the thread tension because the stitch is really wide, and that'll make the sewing machine have an easier time. And you'll see that my hands aren't here, they're out here, and I'm holding the fabric up. You just kind of have something to do. And because I'm not holding that ribbon, it won't pucker. See how beautiful that is and how easily it lays down? If you're into crazy quilting, you'll probably immediately relate to that. You look at the back side, and that stitch is kind of overcasting it. It doesn't really matter if it's perfect on the back side because everyone's just going to be looking at the front side. Then when you want to go and sew your next row of fabric, we're not going for fashion here. You would take and place your next layer of fabric down like this. And see now that ribbon is going to be stuck inside of the seam. It's going to be held down so that your trims won't come off if the fabric is stretched, as what happens when you make a crazy quilt. Usually you have all these pieces of fabric that you've ironed, some fusible to the one side, and then you iron them all down onto this big piece of fabric, and now you got a lot of weight. Where this is a single layer, build it as you go, so crazy quilting as you go. There's a couple videos inside of my YouTube channel already showing you how to use this for making a pillow, so you can do like the different types of quilt designs, and instead of using 1/4 inch seam allowances, you just use the liquid-based glue, overlap your fabric, sew the trim at the same time. It's also a really neat way of creating some scarves for you. I promised you I'd show you an elastic technique. The problem is that I hate to just waste this elastic. I bought a bunch that had like a bag with a whole bunch of different colors in it. This is called fold over elastic, and you can use this for making a waistline for a Barbie skirt, for the little pants, the diaper pants for infants. It's a really skin friendly fiber, and it stretches really, really well. So the benefit of a really stretchable elastic, especially for infants, is as they wiggle and they move their little chubby folds. This doesn't shape them, and it moves real easily with them as they move. And you don't need to use a zigzag stitch for this. You can just use a straight stitch. In this case, we're going to use I'm going to use a straight stitch. I was going to just save that for another thing. I'll just stitch some on this. What you're going to see is that fold over elastic has a center on it where the fibers are see-through, and that's basically like drawing a line for you. So the elastic is designed to fold, and that is half of it. So you could form a Barbie skirt and then just have this be the waistband, which is great, but you can also make your own slips. So I was saying that at shows and people are going, oh my gosh, I haven't worn a slip in years. Do you remember the transition from pantyhose and nylons to not wearing anything and slips? I don't know what my foot pressure is on my machine, but whenever I sew elastic, I know that I need full pressure or the normal setting of the sewing machine. And I tell you that in the instruction. So this was set at the lightest pressure because I was playing around with trims before. That ribbon was still in there. I'm trying to do this right at the edge just because I'm showing off. Normally you would have your elastic stick out further so that you have something to grab hold to so you can pull from behind the foot. But you don't have to pull from behind the foot with my sequins and ribbon foot. So I'm going to try to get this under there. In this case, we don't use the tube on the foot. There we go. But the needle is still up. I have not stitched a stitch. I can stretch the elastic all the way out to its full stretch without it sliding out from behind the foot. So that means you can take and fold your elastic over and stretch that elastic out as you're doing that. And then a left needle position and a long stitch length. So I'm using the full 5mm long stitch length, but I am a little bit further to the left than I want to be. Basically, I want to have my stitch be right along the edge of the elastic, where there's this little bump. They make this elastic in such a way where you pretty much have guides on the elastic to look at. This will be the last thing, and I'm coming up with my questions for the winner. Oh, winner's going to get their choice of the pink or the blue on this elastic as well. So you're going to get some trims, and you'll get either the pink or the blue on the fold over elastic. Are you guys ready for the questions? What's the difference between a gather and a ruffle? That's one question. And what does an embroidery topper do for you? So that's full stretch with a straight stitch. It's a very pretty elastic because you don't need to use a zigzag stitch. But the thread won't break because you're sewing the thread with a full stretch. So I don't know. SL Palm Tree. Whatever you wrote, they're holding it. They're suspecting that I don't want your message to be one of them. So whatever. I am able to see your, even if you can't see it. I did do 2 questions, correct? So there's got to be two answers, you guys. I can't see the whole answers. I feel like the air conditioner is not working anymore. I'm sorry to hear that, Linda, about your mom and her aunt. I've been sewing professionally since the age of 16, pretty much. And I still have full mobility and proper posture. And that's partly because I was in nursing, and one of my jobs was to help people maintain their range of motion. And so it's always been my focus because of who I designed the feet for. That you guys would not lose mobility by using any of my products or my techniques. Phew. The 20% coupon running right now at creativefeet.com is for your entire order. And if you go over $69 and you're in the United States, you have the option for free shipping. So, Plum Tree. Basically, what I'm saying is that YouTube thought one of the things you wrote might not be appropriate. So it held one of your messages. It didn't let it be typed. But I can see it and it says that, and I can't let it go through on this. I can't like tell it it's okay until after, I guess. But know that I can read it. And I was letting you know because if you have the answers, that I would be able to see them. So Palm Tree came through first with the gather. And Amy, you both like did the gather first, and so you both have 2 answers for your answers. And it looks like, oh, that's why I can't see. All right, so Linda keeps the nap down until stitches. So it looks like Amy got it. You got both the answers in separately before Sharon got it all in one. And that's not really the answer to the question, but you're right. The gathering is much better than a ruffle because you can make it fit. Have you ever sewn a ruffle using a ruffler and then had too much fabric and didn't know where to put it? You had to like cut it off, or So gathering is always the best option rather than a ruffler. And because even unless you're sewing just like a skirt for your bed or something, and you're never going to have to turn the fabric, because on every corner you should have more gathers than you do on the straights in order for it to look the same all the way around. Yeah, Amy, you got it. So you'll be getting some trims. And which color elastic do you want? The pink or the blue? I have a feeling it's going to be pink because you have a granddaughter, right? All right, any of you have any questions before I sign off for today on a 2-hour Fabrically Speaking live? That's so cool. And even though the feed dropped for a little while, probably because of lightning in our area, we didn't lose the show. I know you didn't say anything inappropriate, but the automatic function of YouTube thought it might have been naughty. It let you continue. It had to do with the hold light, so I don't know why it thought that was naughty. Glad to see these feet put to work. I have them and need to use them more often. Oh, there I can say show. And then it says another moderator already said it was okay, and I'm the only moderator that I'm aware of. So is your answer pink? Blue, just to be the opposite. I'm just teasing. Okay, it's yours. And you're going to get some trims I'd show you, but they're not within my reach. And you can make that elastic if you want. I have some black elastic. I have a really small 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch. I could give you some of each of those since they're boys. Thank you, Pearl. It's Pearl, right? So Pearl. Do you guys want to know what's rolling around inside my room? It fell out. It fell out and rolled on the floor. Oh well. I don't know what it was. Unless it was this. It was a pin. A yellow pin. Look at that. Something I don't use very often. All right, I'm hesitating to get off because I'm having so much fun being in touch with you all again. Let's see. YouTube. Every Thursdays at 2 Mountain Time. Same time as Denver. From now on. And if we all stop having to change clocks, we won't have to talk about this anymore. Other than I go Thursday at 2, Fabrically Speaking Live, and tomorrow at 1 is the VIP Live for those of you who are a member of the VIP group. And if you aren't a VIP yet, you can join for a week free and be in tomorrow's live where you're on your camera. And if you have any projects that you're working on, you have any issues that on anything, any kind of sewing, quilting, embroidery project, you can ask me questions, and I'm at the machine like I am now. And this is part of being in the VIP group inside of createwithclarerowley.com. Let me type that in right now. Inside of Create with Clare Rowley, you'll see that there's a VIP group. And Claire does not have an I in it. ClareRowley.com. So I just put my school in the link or in the chat. It's going to disappear after we go off being live, so it'll be in the description below the video. The 20% coupon for my website creativefeet.com is off your entire order. So that can be sizable, especially if you want to get a big roll of the stick and tear. The thing put a space between Creative Feet. So get rid of this space, you guys. This is our 37th year in business. If you're new to me, for 37 years, you could have had these products. No, I didn't invent them all at once. But the Creative Feet themselves, I did release all of them in 1989 to the world. And they fit all sewing machines, warranty for life, even if your dog chews it up, as long as he spits it out. We give you a new foot. No questions asked. I did ask one lady because she sent the feet back and they were all melted. And she said they all melted on the windowsill. And since I knew that would require a house fire, knowing how hot it has to get to melt this, I called her up and she goes, "Oh no, you're not going to make me tell you what really happened." And she said, "I got your feet and then I stopped doing everything. I just kept doing sewing with the feet." She got the book and video, and so you learn by making all these samples and your world just explodes with what you can do with a machine. If all you ever do is use a straight stitch, you're going to be blown away and know what all these other stitches are for on your machine. And she said, "Well, my husband kept going, if you don't cook for me, I'm going to cook those feet." And he took the feet and put them on the stove and melted them. And I said, "Oh my God, if you let me tell that story, I'm happy to give you a new set of feet." That's such a great story. And I ended up meeting her husband. They came to a show together and he goes, "I'm the one who cooked her feet." So I hope that you get, I think the membership is $9.99 or something a month. And then I'm going to be making up for a few months of me moving and stuff for those who stayed in the VIP during that time. Thank you guys so much. And so there's some patterns that I've been designing. Another thing that happened in the last 7 months is I hit 3 shows. I did 3 shows, by the way, during that time, but I was barely walking. And I think 45 pounds heavier as of the day I moved than I am now. And that's from doing intermittent fasting, which if you guys want to learn more about that kind of stuff, let me know. And maybe we can create something like that in the school where I can help coach you to kick your hormones back into gear and get your body working so you can lose weight in a healthy way. And then I kept being ready to try going live, but the internet didn't work. And then the entire area that I'm in was having trouble. So every time I tried to really start again, something happened. And then I was really, really ready. And then I fell and I landed right on my face. So I am actually restructuring my face right now, going through therapy to get it all back where it belongs. Some of that involves thumb pulling, so the opening palette, but my eyes were like not looking in the right direction. So just know that I have been dying to start this to go live with you guys again. It's just one thing happened after another, and now I know we're good to go. And with that, I will see you next Thursday. If you like this video, go ahead and hit like, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I sure hope you'll do so today. And be sure to join my school at create.clarerowley.com. Take advantage of our coupon. I usually have a coupon when I go live. So if you save your pennies for Thursdays and join me, then you'll be exposed a little bit every time to the things that you may want. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being with me. Some of you as long as I've been in business. Love you so much. Mwah. Bye. Didn't switch. Why didn't it switch? Oh, because I'm on the wrong screen. Oh well, I'll get better. All right, one more time. Bye. Mwah.